and the winner of everything that matters, and the loser of everything that doesn't. Boy, have I been busy lately. Today, yesterday, etc. Today, I finished polishing up my resume a bit more because I had to add in the deets on references that I didn't have yet, you know. Okay, there I am. Hi, Winston's mom. Yeah, I'm getting some like LinkedIn notifications and stuff. Some recruiter contacted me and I gave her my email address. Seemed safe enough. I do think that plenty of there's a lot of scammy stuff on LinkedIn. You know, for example, actually two different recruiters contacted me as soon as I switched my status to like looking for a job or what have you. One of which was clearly a scam thing. Because he's like, we have jobs now available for the position of debate coach slash school administration slash English teacher slash whatever I put there, you know. They just copied what I had put as my desired position and then said, like, we have jobs for this position. And so I replied to him, okay, well, what exactly is the job title, though? It doesn't, you just copy and pasted my job title. And he's like, University of Phoenix. Okay, you fucking tard. Anyway. All the paperwork for the little car is completed. Did I leave that in the car? Or is it in here? It's in here. All the paperwork for the little car is completed. I just have to wait 2 to 4 weeks for the title to get here. And then I can proceed with selling the little car. And what else? We went to the supermarket in town. We got some things at the supermarket, but then, including a new pair of glasses for me, since I can't seem to find my orange glasses now, though I'm sure they'll turn up at some point. Ooh la la, 2.5 strength. Everything's so clear and big. Got some new glasses. Then we went to the Ace Hardware store where we purchased some of these cardboard boxes, which I'll need to assemble now. We got back home and I finished what I was doing before the car verifier guy came over, namely, I finished up an application as one job for a debate coach slash a Latin teacher. I don't know Latin at all, but what's interesting about that is they were looking for the same kind of thing at Rebay. They wanted somebody to both coach debate and teach Latin. And I suggested to them there, well, I can't teach Latin, but I can teach conditional logic. How about that? And they're like, yeah, actually, that sounds fine. Let's do conditional logic instead of Latin then. They were fine with it. I don't know if this place in the Bronx is going to be fine with it or not. Where thought I'd apply there anyway. So now that I've got all of the reference and resume work done that I need to get done, and I asked Jim and Ida, after I had them all done good, I thought, I asked Gemini, can you read this over and recommend some changes to make it better? And I really liked the formatting changes that it made and stuff. And then the same with the cover letter, made it more concise. Anyhow, fuck yeah, Gemini. You did an absolutely spectacular job of what I wanted you to do. And I was totally wrong about AI and writing before. I always thought, well, the fact that AI can write stuff and write well, that's not ever going to be useful to me because obviously, if I want to write something at all, I want to write it myself. I don't want some AI to write it for me, you know. But I was misunderstanding the way that actually integrates with documents. Like basically, it's also working on using Gemini to work on my resume and cover letter and stuff has made me feel a lot more impetus towards possibly writing a book about cognitive functions. Because like one thing I could do is I could start by feeding Gemini all the different documents that I've already made on cognitive functions, then explain to it like a framework, like I want this book to be structured like meow. With the existing information you have here, can you do the best you can to make that book? And then, you go in and say, okay, on this page, that section needs to be worded differently or whatever. And things I now that I started using Gemini to do stuff, uh, I don't have any issues in my social media footprint. If you're saying, um, if you're saying like, make sure you don't have any YouTube videos up showing you doing drugs or whatever, TFB, man. You're saying make sure your Facebook is clean as a whistle. I mean, it's plenty clean. I never go on Facebook anymore anyway. Bottom line, I did go back and like clean up, fix my LinkedIn profile, which wasn't bad or anything, just old. But I'm me. And if somebody doesn't want to hire me because I'm me, well, then they don't need to hire me. Shake and baked goodies. Is hope disappointment deferred? That's a great question. I think probably Dutch 198, 1981, The Hague is probably left now, but that's a great question. Is hope disappointment deferred? No, I don't think so. I think, well, I watched this video talking about how to win at anything, quote unquote, and I took great exception with the video because its broad prescriptive indications are only appropriate for certain people, right? But one of the things it said that resonated with me um, was practice delusional optimism, which is another way of saying basically trust the process, right? Just keep doing what you know you should be doing and trust the process. And trust the process even to the extent like if it's not working, trust that you can make minor adjustments to it and make it start working. I think that's very true. Video resume, that's not really how employers accept applications. Most employers have a form with like a upload your resume, upload your cover letter, fill in some form stuff. There's nothing like no place to put a video resume. Well, they can check all my shit as much as they want. If for whatever reason they think they don't like me after checking my shit, well, then they shouldn't hire me. And my resume looks fantastic, you know. Thanks to Gemini, the resume, cover letter, etc., everything looks fantastic and it's complete now. Unfortunately, I applied to a few jobs prior to the resume reaching this optimal state of being that it's in now. I wish I had waited till I really finished polishing the resume to start applying to places. I just, I can tend to under under prioritize FE considerations. Um, it it shouldn't matter at all whether my resume looks good because the job I want to get is not a job that requires any hiring person to use heuristics instead of actual checks of competency. Okay, I gotta stop procrastinating. You know what I'm not doing right now, Gil? I am totally not procrastinating on anything. I'm all kinds of on top of everything right now. It's crazy. I haven't felt this on top of shit since I don't even remember when. Well, no, Gemini did a fantastic job of making my resume be exactly what resume seekers want. Um, if I were writing a personal correspondence to my friend Tony, who lives in Canada, let's say, dear Tony, boy, I really like writing you letters, blah, blah, blah. I have to write that myself, obviously. I got all the references. I informed all the references. I got permission from them all. I've got my former direct supervisor at Rebay. Got all the information, including her old title, her new title at her new job she has, her phone number, email address. Additionally, I got Denise Kimball, a former assistant coach, reminder coach policy debate for me. Also a former state champion in policy debate in California. I got her, all the information, including her current job title, and also another former assistant coach, Abraham, who coached Congress and speech for me. So I got all that stuff there, and it's all nicely formatted and put into the resume and everything. So I did finish applying to one job today with the newly maximally optimized resume, but well, I'll apply to more jobs tomorrow. It's true that sometimes people procrastinate on things they like to do. You could say that I am procrastinating on completing certain music work, for example. I I already like know that for this kind of jazz piano song I wrote, I have the lyrics, at least for most of it. I know the next step to do is probably record vocals. I'm kind of dragging my feet on it. For me, it's not necessarily I procrastinate because I don't like something, I don't enjoy doing it, but rather because I feel uncertain about exactly um, to get exactly If I don't know exactly where what I'm going to try to do exactly, and like why, and fully believe it to be the single best course, then in those instances I'll really tend to drag my feet. Why did I drag my feet for such a long time getting a job here in Mariposa? Well, I think it's because I didn't have any good clarity. The only job that I obviously and clearly want to have is debate coach. The idea that that didn't really matter what I wanted to do, that's very FI polar of me. And like, I love coaching debate, but it's also the case that um, there are parts of the job that I enjoy less and or are more likely to procrastinate about than others. If I only did what I liked to do, I'd go on a long trip and ditch all the boring things. But here I am doing the boring stuff. No, I agree. It's good to do the boring stuff. There's nobody saying you shouldn't do the boring stuff. I'm just saying that even for things that you love, there are going to be parts of that that you love less, and a tendency to procrastinate on those, potentially at least, that doesn't link to the fact that you you don't enjoy the thing you're dealing with or care about it enough or something. But I do think Guillaume has a mishmash of different things that he wants to pursue and isn't super determinedly clear on which of those he wants to pursue to the exclusion of others. And that can be a tricky business for anybody. Certainly it is for me. There's a lot of things I want to do, and I don't necessarily want to do any of them to the exclusion of the others, but that's kind of implicit from a time perspective, you know. You used to live in North Carolina, right?
Uh-huh.
And you specifically said you don't want to go back to North
I mean,
Carolina.
look, if there's jobs there, if there's job, I'm open to it.
Okay. I just say to her,
How did she start off the email?
we started exchanging on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay, I see, I see. Yeah, like honestly, like I said, I'm I'm willing to go where the jobs are.
Hopefully, I'll be able to choose between several offers. This position seems to fit just about perfectly. So, I'm definitely interested in applying. Thanks, Eric. Well, that's kind of cool progress. I guess there are some advantages to LinkedIn. I, I don't think either Rachel or I were ever thinking about maybe we'd go to North Carolina, but
No, but
this one here is in Durham, North
oh,
Carolina,
that's nice. Durham's nice.
and it's day school, pre-K through 12, and oh, this is athletic. No, 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 my bad. Uh, actually, I just read it a bit more thoroughly, and it looks like they want an athletics coach. I coach competition flow debate, public forum, Lincoln, Douglas, and policy debate.
This is like a headhunter
Yeah,
through LinkedIn.
yeah.
That's cool.
Okay, back to the live stream.
I'm like a little emotional.
About what?
Cause like I asked ChatGPT like should I start like packing, and it said yes, but since you don't know where, like just like start like decluttering.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. It's like I guess it's just change. Like,
Yeah, change will make anybody emotional. It kind of brings into sharp resolve your past, your future, and your present. I honestly don't know what I want to do with my life if I'm being honest, but if you're being dishonest, you do know. I sort of about everything, but less about programming and music production. Chemistry seems interesting as well. For context, I had the accounting professor mock my major and say we should change to accounting because accounting is the future. What was your major? I'm curious. Change your major from math to accounting, huh? Like, did the did the accounting professor not get that accounting's super boring? You know, I'm not sure. Oh, business management, huh? These are just long-term interests I have had throughout my life. But if you ask me what I really want to care about in life, I'd say I don't know. But I do know what I generally tend to gravitate toward. I think in general people have an easier time knowing what they don't like.
I always thought that that too.
Hmm.
But I always found that the people who got like a jump in life, uh, on certain things knew what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not an advantage to know what you want. I'm just
Yeah.
saying for people who aren't good at that,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
easier for them to know what
Yeah,
they don't
yeah,
know.
yes, you're right. It is. It's totally that. Okay. So,
I mean, Putty Cat, it's actually not very easy to replace teachers, I suspect. And the reason I suspect that is because, well, you might be able to replace teachers if you just had all students working remotely one on one with an AI to some extent, right? Then that's conceivably possible. But um, but if you're trying to do any kind of general classroom stuff, like you have got a classroom full of students, I mean, the the skills involved in that are certainly not strictly, maybe even not primarily pedagogical. No, I'm saying it's not easy to replace them because how in the world is an AI going to have good classroom control over a bunch of squirmy fucking seventh graders? If we're talking about just like self-motivated learners working independently, well then yeah, for almost nothing do you need a teacher. If you're trying to learn something yourself and and you want to master the curricular area, well, you could certainly learn probably better from AI than from most actual people. But if you have a group of students together, then that adds a much more complicated dynamic to things. And I'm not saying we shouldn't get rid of classroom teaching, but I'm saying for as long as we continue to have groups of students involuntarily put in the same room with each other, then there will always be required a human being to manage things. I mean, the thing is, Putty Cat, AI would be much better able to teach kids who are on path to a high achieving, high skills job because those students presumably are engaged with trying to learn certain material to attain certain outcomes. And in general, in life, all learning should take place in a certain way. Like a student should know what they want to learn and why they want to learn it, because once they've learned it, they're going to use it to meow. And when learning occurs like that, it's always very efficient and great. The problem is when you've got a bunch of students who are put in a classroom to learn this subject matter from teacher meow. Well, like many of the things that are taught aren't really things that you can teach, right? Like writing. You can't teach writing. And additionally, there's absolutely no reason to teach writing anymore now that AI is so good. No, I get you, Buddy Cat. I get you that the the totally deprecated education system we have, which unnecessarily brings a bunch of people to a central location and forces them to all learn the same thing regardless of their natural inclinations and talents, is insane, stupid, and guaranteed to fail all the time forever. But But for as long as that organizational approach is taken, you're going to need teachers who can manage classrooms and be like adaptive to the specific needs of that classroom. There are teachers and professors that demand some assignments to be handwritten as a way to make students put hard work in. And like that kind of reality makes it clear just how incredibly superior debate coach work is, or debate competition learning is, than any other educational pedagogy. Because obviously, nobody can ever win a debate unless and until they not only have the answers in front of them, but understand why and how every argument engages with every other argument. It's impossible to figure that out, Putty Cat. The only way to figure it out is to say, this is too good. You couldn't have done it yourself. Um, I saw a video where somebody plugged in a chunk of text that was, I think the chunk of text was entirely human generated. So a human had written the whole thing entirely. And he plugged it into these uh, test if your text was written by AI or not apps that they have. One of them said it was entirely written by AI. One of them said it was like 60% AI. One of them said it was like 20% AI. They were wildly disagreeing with each other, and none of them were right. So there's no good way to tell whether something's written by AI or not. It's interesting though. I'm still a better writer than AI. For example, I normally I could tell when I'm working on the resume stuff. I could tell that things like put somewhere that I'm going to move to wherever it is I get a job, and it would phrase that a little bit better than I phrased it. But I'd say like, well, do you think maybe we should use relocate instead of move to? And then finally, I ended up coming up with the best, most concise version of it. I said, which is better, this one or this one or this one, these previous options? And it picked the one that I had come up with. So obviously, it's better at determining good writing than it is at generating it necessarily. Of course, it's also the case that AI is tasked with a very tricky endeavor. Namely, like, I'm writing something and I want it to help me. I don't want it to override me when I want it to be a certain way and it doesn't suggest that, right? So it's got to like operate where, okay, well, this guy wants this wrong from my perspective in the following fashions. So I can clean it up and make it a better example of wrong in that way if it thinks something's wrong, you know? Oh yeah, I mean, I walked away from this process of generating resume and cover letter and using AI to assist with this process. I walked away from it just, well, I walked away from it, but I'm saying like that. That process is done now. I could not have been more impressed with how incredibly powerful and helpful it is.
I was just gonna say, like, you've really come around, like, to it. But the thing is, you're using it in a way that it's really beneficial for.
Right.
Whereas I am just, I want it for like superficial, like, I want it to like nail down like things that aren't even nailed down on the internet yet. Like characters who are type 9 in TV shows. Well, like, people type wrong all the time, so the information that ChatGPT is getting is not accurate. So for me, for my entertainment, it's not really there yet. It will. It definitely will. But I think, yeah.
No, Putty Cat, you're exactly right. Um, the point isn't the length of the document or whatever. It's like things like this. Um, let's say I've been writing a bunch of things, and but like there's some repetitiveness. I haven't been spending a shit ton of time crafting all my sentences. I can say suggest how go read this whole thing and suggest how to improve it, and it'll do it as a sequence of changes, each of which you can improve or not. And it's so fantastic for things like how many different sections or chapters do you think this should be broken into, and what should the headings of those things be? That's like incredibly effective at that. And like I have got so many documents. I've got so many documents that I've already written about typology stuff, right? I would like to, and it would make my whole process so much easier. I would like for it to go through all of the documents that I've already made that are relevant to typology, and then tell it, like, I want to write a book about typology that goes like this. First, a framework section where it discusses the different ways people think about personality type other than cognitive functions, and articulate the strengths, shortcomings, limitations, whatever of each of those. Then maybe, or maybe before that one, a framing section, which is to say philosophical questions that many people think remain open, um, that are either answered by or potentially either informed by or potentially answered by uh, a correct personality model. Then in the third section, it would be like function mechanics. Like how different slots play out, fields, um, absolute and instrumental values, put, get, receive, all that stuff. And then after that, a section on how to type people. And then after that, type descriptions of each of the 16 types. Maybe a final section that's like, I guess, practical takeaways of a beneficial nature that come from cognitive functions. Benefits of cognitive functions. How it allows us to understand each other as different in ways that aren't pathologizing slash projecting your own frame of reference slash ontologically assaultive, what have you. And then it'll like build that whole thing, right? It'll have empty spaces. I would even instruct it to like leave empty spaces where I've described the architecture of this thing to include meow meow meow, but you don't find enough content on meow meow meow. Or like I told it on the resume, put these kinds of brackets around something if it's a placeholder where I need to go in and fill out that information still. And it does that. And it's like, how fucking convenient. Or make all the variations of California say spell out the full word California. And it does that. You used to have find and replace, but I would have had to go find CA, replace all, find capital CALF, replace all, and then I realized, oh shit, there's one that's lowercase CALF, CALIF. Now I have to replace that one too. Well, it's not a problem with AI. You just can talk to it like a human being, explaining what you want it to do, and it'll do it. It's amazing. I mean, I'm unconvinced that AI is going to have such a dramatically negative impact on labor markets. And it's not because I don't get all the ways in which it could and will replace certain jobs, right? Is that I don't get and don't really have any speculative notions about the ways in which it might create new kinds of jobs that don't exist in the status quo. So you might be right, but it's also the case that for certain kinds of things, well, it certainly does seem to be the case that there are shit tons of things that may end up being replaced by AI. We also don't know, though, uh, where we might hit hard limits in terms of AI's capacity to become more sophisticated. Like, it certainly, if you want to treat AI like a therapist now, it at least Gemini, it'll just give you very concrete solutions, like suggestions and stuff. I know this because the other day it's a little embarrassing to say, but I actually said to AI, what should someone do if they hate themselves? And it had some fine enough suggestions, but you know, people who want therapy don't usually have such clear cut questions, right? They want to talk about things. True, um, coding is potentially open to regular people nowadays. I was thinking about that in the car, in fact. Like, I have this great idea for Function Rummy as a game, but I don't quite have all the deets worked out. I don't have all the elements balanced against each other perfectly. Um, but I would love for AI to help me finish making that and then um, making the rules for it, and then ask it if it can code a card game, like a video game that features 8 players and you could play with as many as 16 players, but and then you everybody but you though could be computer, you know. I think the function roaming idea is incredibly instructive about cognitive functions. Basically, it's got, I don't remember all the specs of it, but you treat the, you divide the, like, let's say you're playing around a table, right? You divide, let's say a rectangle or a square, I don't know, cloth, into two sections, top and bottom. Top is for metaphysical external field, the bottom is for physical external field. Then you have a, you somehow have the fields accounted for yourself too. Like your internal stuff is those fields are played like behind your hand, right? Whereas the external fields are common to everybody. And like each of the suits represents a kind of function: action, interface, deliberation, or knowledge. And is there like you take out all the eights from the deck, so or they do something specific other than represent anything. And then you have 2 through 7 is like physical, 9 through ace is metaphysical, or maybe it's ace through 7. I'd have to look at it, but regardless, so essentially, um, let's say a King of Hearts is a card that you can only play by using extroverted intuition, and you'd play it on the external metaphysical field. Uh, if that were the designation, right? So, different kinds of functions allow you to do different kinds of things in the rummy process, because it's like rummy in the sense that you're trying to build sets on the external field, and the internal field dynamics work a little bit differently. But um, and then like if it were executed perfectly, well, I guess it naturally would execute like this. That you'd have being if you're playing the character of an ISFJ. In other words, you've designated that you're ISFJ, then your capacity to play certain kinds of cards on certain fields is accordingly more or less developed. Like, for example, maybe if you're an NE-DOM, you can immediately play any opening card on the external metaphysical field, and you can immediately add any card to any existing set on that field. And then, like, NI would close a set, right? So it would say this has been holistically distilled into something that now, instead of representing a series of extroverted intuition events, it has become a whole thing with, like basically a set of ideas comprising, like, say, a video, right? But this video is made of all these various sentences, but the NI nutshell of it is People who murder are bad. Another fear without regulation or oversight, AI figures out how to exterminate humans. Well, the thing is, in the status quo, AI is more or less always facilitating somebody with something they want to do themselves, right? Yeah, we do have people setting kind of like autonomous AI bots loose on the internet, but left unsupervised indefinitely, they'll go off the rails. And I think that may always be the case for AI. It it's it may turn out to be conscribed by its teleology, like the fact that it's always and only used by people to empower them to do things makes it such that that's all it ever is. I don't know. And bottom line, I don't know. None of us know. There's lots of things about it that seem a little scary. Lots of things about it that seem really exciting. Um, I would agree that based on my ability to forecast into the future, it would seem likely to have more negative economic impact than positive. Well, we shall see. It certainly does require a lot of energy. So, if the government's got some secret alien free energy tech, it's time to bust that shit out already. You know what I'm saying? I think so. Okay. So, I mean, it's just not clear. Also, like, what's the linkage between inspiration and subjective interest slash qualia? Um, I I I get that AI is extremely effective at a lot of kinds of things. I don't think it's really demonstrated yet to me anything like inspired insight or genuinely original genius notion or something, right? Do I think AI has improved baseball? Um, I don't know to what extent AI is used in baseball. If it's involved in the ABS system, then I'm a fan of ABS, so yes. If it's involved in, say, making the cameras more accurately focus on the various things they're supposed to be looking at, yeah, well, I like it. The cool thing about ABS, this is what makes it so much cooler than like Hawkeye in tennis, is at every pitch the pitcher throws, I can tell watching whether it's a strike or a ball. I know when they should tap their head. I'm at least as good as the people involved at knowing when to tap and not to tap. And whenever ABS shows me where the pitch ended up, I'm never like, it wasn't there. That never has one time happened. Well, Putty Cat, they have replaced calling balls and strikes with the robot umpire in Korea, and yet they still have a guy standing there who makes the balls and strike calls. He gets told them by the AI, and then he says what they are. I think that people like having a person back there. You know, people think that the umpires are part of baseball, and while people want to get rid of the inaccuracies, they don't want to get rid of the umpires themselves. I suspect there's going to be a lot of stuff like that. That no matter how effective AI becomes at any and everything, people will still value a human touch. Like having an actual person giving their actual attention to your specific case. Yeah, it would get rid of the entertainment of watching a manager and an umpire argue. And that is part of the fun of baseball. Like the other day in the athletics game, uh, Shea Langoliers, there was a pitch. It was called a ball, but the ump didn't really make any big loud sound or anything. He must have just been like, Shea Langoliers was just waiting for a second. And when he realized it was a ball, he immediately tapped his head. And the guy's like, yeah, sorry, you took too long. You took too long to tap your head. No challenge allowed. And Mark Kotze, you could read his lips as he's screaming from the dugout. That's wrong. That's fucking wrong. That's so fucking wrong. I like that kind of stuff. I want to see I want to see that those kind of passionate exchanges and such. But but ultimately it's easy for us to think of ways in which AI can replace people. It's a tougher question to answer the extent to which people want to eliminate other people from the getting that kind of work done, you know? Like yes, they do have robot waiters and such, but I think for a certain level of fanciness and above, people are going to prefer there to be human staff. Like in the restaurant, at the casino, in the restaurant that you sit down, the sit down diner place, they have humans in there doing all of the serving. In the 50s diner next door, where it's not really a sit down place, they've got humans where you order at the counter, and then the humans put the tray of food on the robot and tell the robot what table you're at, I guess. And the robot comes and gives you your food. Uh, it's still not entirely without people. It's hard to imagine how something like a restaurant will ever work entirely without people. Hi, Heather. How's it going? How are you? I heard you've eaten a great big shoe. You ate it with your mouth and swallowed it down, and now you've got a great big frown. I think I might put on some socks, some shoes, And I might go outside and do a little pond work. I could make some boxes. Actually, I should assemble some boxes first so that Rachel can do what she wants to do with these boxes. I'll need to get, of course, some packing tape. We're not going to close the box on top, obviously, yet, but we'll make it strong with the packing tape on the bottom. Okay. We got some tape. Good, good. We're really making some progress now, aren't we? All right. So, now that I've got this tape, and I've got it started even, I can just put it like here. See? Got it hanging right there. All right, let's move this table up a little bit. We've got this. It's a box. Doesn't look like a box yet because you have to build it. Actually is not as large as I thought it was going to be. Hold on. Let's try it like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, oh, right, good. Here. There. I did it. What a wonderful job I've done. Now I'm going to get some I was going to say scissors, but this is fine. This will work fine, actually. This is fine. So we'll get this. I'm going to take the bottom like so. Okay, and then we're going to cut this. Yes, it has one of those serrated things, but it's kind of broken off. It doesn't really work very well. So go with this one. Then go like this a bit. So I think it's interesting that they got a lady who actually has just one leg to play the one-legged lady in La Brea. Thing is, I understand why they decided to have that character have just one leg. It's a critical plot point. It's the source of her mother's extreme guilt and shame because her daughter lost her leg because she asked her friend to pick her up, and the reason she wanted her friend to pick her up is because she was having an affair that afternoon. So something bad had to have happened to the girl in that accident for that whole character dynamic to fly, right? Oh, I see, you just do that. That's so much better. So I respect the fact they decided to have that character just have one leg. It's not arbitrary, right? And so, accordingly, I approve of the character. Now, what they decided to do was get an actual lady who actually had one leg to play the one-legged lady. And I just don't think she's a very good actress. I bet you they could have done a better job casting that part if they had found a regular two-legged lady. Now, in some instances, I would think like, oh my God, this show is being so needlessly and sillily woke. Like, for example, if she had only one leg and it wasn't part of anything, like it wasn't critical to the plot, like, oh, we need to have a character with this kind of disability and that kind of disability. We need to have this sexual orientation and that racial identity. And I just think, oh, that's so dumb. Just let your character have two legs. But no, not in this show. I am perfectly fine with her being a one-legged character. And I am sure that they did as well as they could in casting this with an actual one-legged lady. Because how many one-legged actresses are there out there? Probably not that many, right? And she's not bad. But she's not good either. She often seems to like not really know what to do with her eyes, and she does this kind of thing a lot. Like, what are you doing, lady? Because you only have one leg, your eyes have gone crazy? Anyway, I just gotta say, everybody seems a lot more forgiving of Eve in this show than I am. Like, for a decent portion of the first season of it, like, she and Levi are still like, oh, maybe we're in love or something like that. And Gavin concurrently is like, I know it's my fault and I'm going to have to fight to win you back. It's not your fault your wife's a whore, Gavin. You're not being honest with yourself. It is not your fault that your wife's a whore. Yes, you were drinking too much. That doesn't excuse her fucking your best friend. We're putting some on this side too to make it flatter. Just a little bit. Alright, there. This is a good box. This box is ready to go. Rachel now has one box that she can put things in. I don't feel like making another box right this second. Britney Spears allegedly caused a chaotic and kind of sad scene while dining at a Los Angeles restaurant with two friends Wednesday night. Sources told TMZ that the pop star was raising her voice, screaming, and even barking at times during the incident at the Blue Dog Tavern in Sherman Oaks. Are you sure she wasn't just drunk? She was out of tavern after all. That seems like kind of vague and mild accusations to me. I scream at people sometimes. It might be a sad scene for them. Boom. And she's at a bar called the Blue Dog Tavern. So, wouldn't it make sense if she's getting drunk there? Like, fuck yeah, girls at the Blue Dog Tavern. Woof, 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 woof. That just seems like something a normal person might normally do. So, I don't know. I'm unimpressed with those accusations. If you want to impress me with accusations, be less vague. She also apparently wielded a knife. Well, is it conceivable that she ordered food there and was cutting up the food? Did she brandish the knife or just wield it in some fashion? I don't know. I've got, by and large, a defense lawyer's frame of mind about things. Okay. Although Snyder doesn't think the Grammy winner had any violent intention, he said she was definitely a nuisance to sit next to at dinner. Oh my goodness. Can you guys believe it? Britney Spears was so evil as to be a nuisance at dinner. So fucking what? You know what? Sometimes I'm a nuisance at dinner. I was randomly scrolling through YouTube shorts and ran across this somehow because you're a curious wanderer, and your curious wanderings have wandered you right into this area of curiosity here. A little something I call Eric. This guy. And of course, my wife Rachel is also part of the channel. But in this instance, in this moment, you're just getting me. And because you're such a curious wanderer, makes me curious about what you're curious about. Apparently, she was not drinking because she just finished rehab. I mean, she just finished rehab, and she's out from rehab, and she's therefore not drinking. Those things do not follow at all from one another. Sounds to me like, woo, fuck yeah, finally out of rehab, let's party. That's what it sounds like to me. Well, I don't know. Obviously, in general, I feel kind of bad for Britney Spears. She's not very bright. She seems to be have a little bit of impulse control difficulties, and she seems like she's not really ill-intentioned at all, you know. She's so much better than like Diddy or she's like, I'm sure, an embarrassment to be around often enough. How much better is that than Diddy's predatory bullshit, you know? Should we do it? Should we put some shoes on and do a little pawn removal? It's coming along pretty well. I think I can like actually begin even filling up here a bit. And then once I fill it a bit, there's a little bit too much rock. A couple places. Maybe I get rid of this one. I'm leaving some of the rock there because obviously I need to fill the hole with something. And leave some rock there, some concrete there, and broken up though, so it doesn't create a drainage problem. And then I'll just move some dirt around. And then I've got some bags of dirt too. But I was thinking, I saw they had bays of hail. Bays of hail. Bales of hay. I saw they had bales of hay at the feed store in town. I thought, I could, for the deeper holes, I could put a layer of hay down, then some rocks, and then some dirt on top of that. That's a possibility. Cooter the turtle. Cooter the turtle. It is a cooter, and it is a turtle. I've not taken you to the shed in some time. That's true. We are going to be going down to the shed soon, though. Before I sell the little wilderness car, I want to go down to the shed and take up everything from the shed that I either want to sell and or keep. Not and, or keep. Sell or keep. Like, there's a whole woodworking table in there. I should bring up a bunch of stuff. Like, maybe mostly put stuff back here behind the house, but then maybe do a little research and put things on either OfferUp or Nextdoor or Facebook Marketplace or eBay or some combination of all of those things. Sell to yourself and keep. Well, that wouldn't be selling. That's the alternative to selling something, is not selling it. And I just figure since we're downsizing, there's a lot of things that I'm just not going to need as a renter, some of which I want to retain anyway. I'm kind of back and forth about my fantastic pressure washer. I think I kind of want to keep that, even though it's the sort of thing that you probably don't need. Certainly don't need it in an apartment, I guess it would depend on knowing exactly where we're gonna live. There's a lot of tools, power tools that I want to. Almost all of them I want to keep. A couple of things that are like, I kind of want to keep that too. I've got this great fucking work light thing on a stand with these two super bright lights, but I need to get replacement bulbs for them. There aren't any plants. Well, there's one little seedling right now that I actually watered today just for shits and giggles. Yeah, I don't want to get a storage place, and I'm not going to try to burden Cameron with that. I think I will Like if he wants to that pressure washer, for example, to like for long term borrow with the notion that someday I might ask for it back, that would be perfectly fine with me. If you feel like he has a use for it, is desirous of it at all. Because that's the kind of thing that he might actually appreciate having around. Um, that's conceivable. Or you could just try to sell and see if I can get. I'll probably get a couple $100 for it. I'm gonna definitely sell the chainsaw that I bought when I came up here in anticipation of chainsawing stuff that I never used one time. Because it didn't take too long for me to realize, wait a second, I'm scared of chainsaws. That seems like a good way to cut off a finger, a hand, a leg, you know. Get out of here, chainsaws. So I'm gonna definitely sell that. I gotta go through stuff and figure out what exactly is saleable slash worth selling. I mean, I could conceivably have like two kinds of selling going on. One of them being more like potentially valuable stuff, putting on eBay or what have you, and then maybe having a yard sale to get rid of a bunch of stuff that's of questionable value. I think that's not a terrible idea. I feel pretty capable of putting a handle on all this kind of stuff. I need a, I guess, well, I actually know what my clear starting point for selling stuff is. I want to start with a chainsaw. Good idea, 2 piles. Yeah, a pile for selling online slash Facebook Marketplace versus a yard sale pile. Like Rachel has a bunch of clothes she wants to donate. Well, we might as well sell them at a yard sale. If we can sell some and get a few bucks for them, why not? Of course, putting together a yard sale is its own side quest thing, right? And I I was thinking about this yesterday, like, okay, Eric, but you need to first and foremost make sure you push super hard on main quest number one and apply to as many jobs as you can. Now that you've got resume, references, everything you need in place, it shouldn't take a long time to do that. Get that done first. And then, while you're waiting to see what kind of response you get, then and only then, after you've done all the applications, should you begin the selling process. That's part of what I'm telling me. But another part of me says, well, Eric, sometimes you get tired of doing one thing and you feel like doing something else. And as long as all these things are things that need to be done and as part of the overall process, you're probably better off letting yourself bounce between things a bit, you know? Let's see what that noise is all about. I don't know. I don't know what that was all about. Let me look on the computer, I guess. I think it's a LinkedIn thing. You're more partial to us staying. We're not staying, you know. What's most important to me specifically in the medium future, meaning like the next 3, 6 months, whatever, is that I start working again and that I maximize my ability to work in my preferred field. What's important to us secondarily is ideally to move to New York to be close to Rachel's dad. And even if we don't do that this year, that's something we will do. We'll try again next year to find a job in New York. and try to move then, you know. Or the year after, or whenever we can. But it would be much preferable if we could find a job in New York now, so there's not an additional move a year or two from now, right? That would obviously be preferable. Let's see what's going on in my Gmail. Okay. That's fine. That was just that lady. Gotcha. 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 Finally got around to forcing myself to lift weights again. Guess you want to be buff? You want to be buff like Fred McGuff? What am I doing here? I don't even know what I'm doing here. I just know that I'm going to stop doing it, whatever it is. Hopefully I can build up some motivation and discipline from this to do other things. I mean, it doesn't work like that, right? You have a certain amount of overall energy and motivation that you can direct towards all possible things. Using some of it up on lifting weights isn't going to make you have more of it for something else. Yeah, getting good cardio exercise can make you feel like less run down or burnout or whatever, but that's not even lifting weights. Oh. Okay, so what's the next task I'm going to do? I'm going to do another task here before we consider ending the stream. Right, I was going to do a little pond removal. That's a good idea. I've been making steady progress on it. It's good to try to get a little bit of it done every day. First thing I need to do in order to remove the pond is I need to put on some socks and shoes. So I'm going to leave you here for the moment. Go get my socks and shoes and come back here to put them on. I'm here. I'm back. Don't worry. Hi, Irish boy. Sean. Some Americans are ignorant. Not you. You are a nice guy. Well, thanks. Some Americans annoyed you. Well, people can be annoying all the world around. I have noticed, though, that in general, all people from everywhere are more annoying online than they ever are in real life. Like, you get a lot of partisan bickering and stuff online that you never really see in real life. And like, for example, if you see a panel discussion in the panel verse of YouTube where you've got an assemblage of random people definitely not talking about anything in any meaningful way. Like just cutting each other off, talking over each other, not having a clear topic, just like maybe at best exchanging pithy retorts or something. Vodka, huh? Well, it's like I was telling people earlier. If you're gonna drink cheap liquor, never go for cheap gin and never go for cheap like cheap rum also should avoid, but you can get away with getting the cheaper stuff with vodka and whiskey. So Smirnoff is fine, right? Smirnoff is fine, but like, and, but if you go any lower than say, even Beefeater is pretty rough as far as gin goes. Ideally, if you're drinking gin, you drink Bombay Sapphire or Tanqueray. But with whiskey, you can drink Jim Beam. That's perfectly good. You don't need to get some fancy whiskey or anything. And with vodka, Smirnoff's fine. If you want to make your cheaper vodka taste more like fancier vodka, you could just pour it through a Brita filter, apparently, a few times. What's my favorite alcohol? Well, my favorite alcohol, that's a tough question, but I think when I drank it would have been good red wine. Oh, Sean. I liked good red wine a lot. Kind of depends on what mood you're in, too. Like on a hot day, ain't nothing like a Bombay Sapphire gin and tonic. Just knock your socks off. Vodka goes good with a lot of different things. I like grapefruit juice and vodka. I liked cranberry juice and vodka, orange juice and vodka. You can put vodka in anything, really. Whereas if you're drinking coffee, you want to put whiskey in coffee, like Irish whiskey. Irish coffee is coffee with whiskey in it. Um, you wouldn't want to put vodka in your coffee. And I'm not a fan of tequila. I guess better tequila is better, but I just think tequila in general is not good. Okay. Can my phone stop making those noises now, please? I can't drink. I have epilepsy. People with epilepsy can't drink. We are moving. We're going to be moving. Hopefully to New York. But we've uh, kind of reordered the order of operations a bit. We decided that we're gonna spend a couple of weeks doing job search, applying for jobs, and then later I will later I will have a better idea of what's available where for me. Hopefully I'll have some offers, and if, like, let's say I get offers from every place I apply to, well, then we're moving to New York. If I don't get any offers from New York schools, then we're gonna have to look elsewhere, obviously. I don't think New York air is bad. It's right by the coast. Usually coastal air is fine. I know what you look like. Yeah, because Shannon directed us to your channel sometime. I don't remember how long ago. And I was like, oh, that's what it looks like, huh? His name's Sean. I see. That's that Irish boy who comes to the live stream, huh? How interesting. That's what I thought. That's what I said, or some paraphrase of of that. Shannon be cray. Well, you know what they say, Irish boy. Bitches be cray. Yeah, it was the day you got pissed off at me because I wanted you to collab with him. I mean, what would we even talk about? I don't know what kind of things Sean talks about. Then you removed from your channel. Removed you from his channel? Is that what you mean by that? Shannon needs Irish boy. Obviously, she's a fan, you know? That's not something to sneeze at. It's pretty important to have a few people at least interested in watching you. Otherwise, you'll feel so sad. Yeah, I'm not sure if in the final version I explained that or not. I probably should. That's a good point. Thank you for saying that, zombie. So, like, I could add a sentence here. Hmm. Okay. Where the cursor is, put a bullet point saying that I have been on a several been on a sabbatical since the death of my parents in 2022. No, not there. No, put it under the private client line. There. Thank you, Gemini. You did a good job. I'm proud of you. Okay, there needs to be one fewer space there, right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. Coolio. Good. Good idea, zombie. Good idea. You win a prize called Good Idea Prize. I will do a quiet stream now. You want to join? A bit of a big mouth. You need Irish boy to quiet you down. Okay, bye all. Bye, Sean. See you later. I'm only 55, but according to the supermarket, that means I do qualify for a senior citizen discount. I think this might be my very first qualified senior citizen discount that I've gotten. Older than my birth cert. Well, presumably your birth cert is about exactly the same age as you. And maybe a little younger. They might not have issued it at the exact instant of your birth, but fairly shortly thereafter, I would imagine. Okay. Right, we're going outside to work on the pond. Usually people don't get a passport until they need to travel out of country. Babies might need a passport, but unless they're being taken out of the country, they won't. So for a lot of people, they don't leave the country for maybe their whole lives. They never need to get a passport. Of course, if you're from Europe, there's a lot more going between different countries involved than there is in America. All right, let's do a little pond removal. I'm feeling a little bit of a inertia / momentum crash. Like, I've been feeling good, like, all right, let's put a handle on it, let's get the next thing done, blah, blah, blah. I'm feeling like a little bit of a dopamine crash related to that, possibly. Should have gotten a sledgehammer at the hardware store today. I don't know why I didn't. This is going to be a little more stubborn than some other spots. You know, I did a more thorough job in some areas than others. Made it a little thicker in some spots than others, you know. That was a good piece right there. Alright, well, let me carry it over here, though, because I'm not going to get it that far. It's my own throw. Let me go back to this tool here. There we go. All right. Set the bucket. Okay. That bucket's full. Wow, this is a big boy. See how big that is? That's a little more manageable. Okay. First, let's take this bucket. There. More manageable size. You ready for the concrete chuck? All right. Okay, so these super big pieces here. Forgot about these. I guess I'll put them in a bucket if I can. These don't fit super great, but that's fine. Oh, that's a big bucket of rocks. Oh. Oh. Don't worry, everybody. I'll be done with this soon. I'm tired. Whew. That is a workout. Dealing with all these rocks. This one's kind of too big. All right. This is fun. I can do more later. All right, I'll tell you what, let's get one or two more pieces out of here. Oh no. Good job. Whew. Okay. That's enough. Oh, fuck me, Amadeus. Fuck me, Amadeus. Boy, oh boy. Oh. Okay. That's pretty good progress. If I work that much every day, probably down in about a week, probably. Maybe a little more. That's not a ton of work. That's just like, I don't know how long I was up there. Half an hour maybe. 45 minutes maybe. But it wasn't very long. And given the amount of progress I made in that little amount of time, projecting out, it's not that big of a task. In fact, the computer hasn't even gone to sleep yet. So you know for sure, I wasn't out there very long. Taking out the pond, because we we're selling the house, so the pond is not a good sales thing. Eric's homemade monstrosity of concrete is not going to be appealing to anybody. I know, Rachel and I were talking about that today. There definitely will be things I miss about here, but the bottom line is life's how one's doing in life has a lot more to do with what one's doing than where one's doing it. Like, you know, chained to a ball and chain hauling lava rocks up a hill in tropical beautiful Hawaii is not any good, right?
You're doing great.
Thanks, darling. So for me, the most important thing of this move isn't really even the move, it's the transition back into the workforce. It's the most important part for me. And, well, I am 100% sure that wherever we move to, the house is not going to be as nice as this place, and that it's not going to be nearly as beautiful as this. Well, I'd rather be doing what I love in the city than not doing anything in the beautiful mountains. That's the bottom line. The additional and not insignificant factor as well is it's time for Rachel to be closer to her dad and brother's wife and other McCurgans in the area and such. It was a very FI 6 and 7 thing for us to think when we did this in the first place that it didn't matter if we were near people we loved. So yeah, I'm not inning at all right now. Taking out the pond was one of the things that we indicated, that I indicated need to do before we sell the house. Another one of equivalent thing that I knew right away was I have to paint this wall gray too. Those are the two main things. As far as fixing shit up. Well, I mean, I'm currently also waiting for a part to come so I can fix the dryer, which, with brilliant timing, decided to conk out the other day. Other such tasks aren't really fixing things up, but I need to go through a bunch of random things and put into basically two piles. You could try to argue three, but essentially two piles. Uh, one pile for things that I want to sell independently of the other things. Like, for example, the chainsaw, I'll put it up on next door and offer up, try to get a couple $100 for it. I'm not sure how much exactly it's worth, but I never even used it one time. It wasn't brand new when I got it though. Um, I want to try to sell like the woodworking table and some of the shit down in the shed down there. Um, Probably I'll just sell my pressure washer. It's like I like the pressure washer a lot. It's a cool thing to have. Sometimes you need a pressure washer for various things, but probably just sell that too. And for little stuff that doesn't seem to be any particularly significant value, well, hopefully we'll have a yard sale for all this stuff. And then whatever's left, we can donate or make a dump run, you know, or just leave it in the attic. Oh no, I'm in the process of selling the little wilderness car too. I went to the DMV Tuesday and again today because on Tuesday I discovered I had to get one more piece of paperwork, which involves hiring a vehicle verifier to come verify my vehicle. And I got that paper today, and then we went back to the DMV, and I got the title put in my name formally. I'll get the pink slip in the mail in 4 weeks. There's a lot of mosquitoes out here. It's horrible. So, you know, I got a lot of things to do. A lot of things to do. Top priority, number one in the order of operations is finish applying to jobs. I've applied to multiple so far, but I'm kicking myself a little bit in that I don't feel as though my resume slash cover letter has been perfectly optimized until today. So I regret kind of jumping the application gun before I had really finished polishing up my resume, but hopefully it will make a big difference. Same information, more or less, you know, just the final one has more information on it that the earlier drafts don't necessarily have on them, and it looks nicer, it's formatted well and everything. I'll take doing nothing in the mountains. Well, I got my movies, books, etc. I will totally sit on my ass. I get tired just watching you do that work. Well, I mean, I've been sitting on my ass for 3 years. So I'm entirely sick of it. It started to feel like a prison after a while. You know, it's possible that had I, during this past 3 years, been feeling, I was kind of convalescing from trauma, you might say, grieving the death of my parents when we moved up here. And if I had been in a normal headspace then, maybe I would have been like, what a great opportunity to work on writing books and doing yeah. But I didn't really find myself actually doing much of that stuff. I attribute it not to the fact that I didn't have anything else to do, but rather to the fact that I just wasn't really in a very good headspace. I feel, you know, night and day better now than I did. And certainly a significant factor in that was finally getting out of an avoidant headspace, not wanting to make a decision about what we're going to do long term, not wanting to deal with, all kinds of adult stuff like that, right? To like, okay, well, I'm starting to deal with it today, I don't know, week or two ago, and talked to Delilah, talked to Rachel. Rachel and I agreed in full that we wanted to move to New York for reasons I've already articulated. And then since that moment, I feel like entirely my old self again. Like I don't find myself going like, what the hell is wrong with me right now? Nor do I find myself saying very often, I hate myself, I wish I were dead, which I used to say all the time. It was like my daily, constant mantra. Hi, Judy. The buggy is not even street legal. So the only place to have something like that is if you live someplace like here where there's a lot of wilderness roads to go on. All right, we've got some food here. I think I'll have another chicken strip. Oh, fuck. I forgot to get beer at the store.
Should we go to Blue Jack?
Yeah. I don't understand why some people think morality is subjective even. Well, the reason they think it's subjective is because different people disagree on it, and different cultures have different standards for what's prioritized when making some kind of normative calculus. But in fact, that doesn't mean morality is subjective. It means that plenty of people are wrong. Like, it is in fact the case that while virtue ethics never universalize, value ethics, executed properly, always do. No, it's not the verb kind of strip, okay? Play cat. Well, wherever we go, it's not going to be more expensive to live there than it is here in terms of overall cost of living concern. Okay, trouble. Here. Well, that is one thing I'm looking forward to about moving is being in a metropolitan area where we can meet up with people from the channel and stuff like that, you know. I think we anticipated getting a fair number of visitors up here since we had guest rooms for people to stay in. It's a nice place to go to, but we really didn't get any. Well, I'm also talking about cost of living stuff like gas prices, food prices, etc. And like our energy costs are high here, both because we have PGE, which is ridiculously expensive electricity. We have propane for the heater, which just the propane alone costs between $2,000 and $3,000 a year, maybe closer to three. But also because the house is big, so it's a lot of space to cool or heat. Well, Rachel and I have ultimately decided after some discussion to predicate that decision on where I get a job. If I get a job in New York, then we'll go there, obviously. But if I don't, then we'll go where I can get the best job. Yeah, I've never been to Boston, and I guess it's pretty close to New York, you know. Again, Puttycat, where exactly we move to is predicated on job search results. If I get a good job in New York, we move to New York. If I don't, then we see where I get a good job at, and then we'll go there. I'm I have a nationwide job search going on. I'm applying to a job anywhere in the country as long as it's the job I want, the kind of job I want. The thing about that though is there are some states which have robust debate competition communities and some states not so much, right? Florida, Texas, New York, and California are the most debate states. Texas is not out of the question, but I would say it's, you know, ideally I don't want to go to either Florida or Texas. I'd rather stay in California than go to Florida or Texas.
I'm with you.
But you know, the whole process is frustratingly TE. You can make progress on various things, but you cannot make progress on some things because they're contingent on answers to other questions that are still open. No income tax in Florida? Yeah, okay, well, that would be a benefit, but I don't want to live in Florida. Florida seems like a terrible place to me. Uh, Texas, I feel more like mixed feelings about it, but I still think of it as mostly a hot, dry place. Okay, time to pull some bum ribs. So the Athletics already played and lost earlier today. I did not realize they would be playing a day game on a Thursday in Sacramento, but they did, and so it didn't even occur to me. Don't check ESPN. Check the TV first because they might have already played. Instead, I just looked at ESPN to see to like check my fantasy baseball teams, and I saw the score. I was like, "What? They already played? They never played day games on Thursday in Sacramento, of all places."
Big Billy moment to reach out and get all the chips. Billy would certainly enjoy this one.
All right,
The new
let's see.
season of the Peacock original series, Poker Face.
This is the Freakness.
Ready to go solar?
I thought that was already.
I know, but we didn't watch it.
Oh.
I kind of want to see the actual race. I guess it was on Saturday? Must have been on Saturday, right?
Bravo
Yeah.
to them as the horses parade here, and we are set to meet the field for this 150th Preakness Stakes.
150th running of the Preakness Stakes. Well, let's see. Let's let them announce them so
Ready to perhaps win the Preakness for the
we
first time in
can
Vegas.
see who we want to pick. So the number one horse is Goal Oriented, coach trained by Bob Baffert. The number two horse, Journalism, trainer Michael McCarthy, 6-5 odds. Second at Churchill Downs, 4 wins of 6 starts. Number 3 is American Promise, going off at 11-1. This horse is trained by D. Wayne Lucas. Pick the horse that takes a dump before the race. That's a pretty good betting strategy, I'd say, but Pay Billy, number 5 horse, going off at 14-1. Oh, the Preakness is upcoming Saturday?
What?
Why is it in my recorded videos then? Was this last year's Preakness? River Thames. We'll see. If the winner of the Kentucky Derby's not in it, then this must have been last year's Preakness. Sandman, 7 horses, 5-1. Let's see.
That makes sense because it was like what, yesterday that we recorded it?
Yeah, I was like, why
And I
is it
was
on
like,
Tuesday?
Yeah, me too. I was like, not many people could take off from work on Tuesday.
The winner of the Kentucky Derby is not running in the Preakness? Why not?
Why?
And it's like, who cares even?
Yeah, no, like, why watch?
I mean, it's still a big horse race, but no Triple Crown possibility. Why is the winner of the Kentucky Derby not running in the Preakness? The trainer said the horse needed rest. I mean, why even enter it in the Kentucky Derby if you're not trying to get the Triple Crown? The horse ran for 2 minutes 2 weeks ago and it needs to rest? Are you serious? Think about it. The horse literally ran for 2 minutes 2 weeks ago. How can it need to rest? Can I get a hell yeah? Horse races are short. They shouldn't have to rest that long between races. Like if I ran my hardest for 2 minutes, I wouldn't need to rest for 2 weeks. That's ridiculous. Even if somebody were riding my back and whipping me the whole time, I still would need to rest for 2 weeks after running for 2 minutes. People in there like, oh, horse racing's bad. It's not nice to make the horses run like that. Horse racing's not like cockfighting or bullfighting or one of those things. Those horses want to race. They're race horses. They were bred for racing for horse racing. There are only 2 weeks between the Derby and the Preakness. Modern training philosophy is more conservative. Horses today race less often. Trainers prefer 4 to 6 weeks between starts. But why? I mean, seriously, think about it. A horse race lasts 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes long. How in the world can a horse need 4 to 6 weeks of rest after running for 2 minutes? That makes no sense at all. It may be the case that every horse has a finite number of races in its legs before it breaks down, right? That could be one, that could be 50. But what is not going to make any difference is if you let it rest only, quote unquote, 2 weeks, or if you let it rest 4 to 6 weeks. You're just postponing the inevitable breakdown that is going to happen on race 12, no matter when you run it. The Kentucky Derby is a grueling 1.25 mile race with a huge field and an intense pace. Even elite horses can come out of it sore, stiff, slightly injured. Well, I get that. No, I get that too. That having won the Kentucky Derby, that lady is now well served to limit the number of additional races it does until, only entering those races with large purses and make it worth it to win it. Because if the horse breaks down and has to be put down, it will have no career as a stallion. That's assuming it's a stallion currently and not a gelding or a filly. Mares aren't worth as much because they can't have as many babies as stallions can. Well, and I also get that if you're only interested in it for long-term value or what have you, that it makes perfect sense to just do what I was saying. But for fuck's sake, this is a sport. You're supposed to want to try to win the sport, not win the retirement. Probably was a stallion, yeah. Usually, they only geld horses if they've already failed in their racing career as a stallion. And sometimes it makes a big difference. Like, I think, was it Man of War? Some super famous horse was shitty. The stallion, once they gelded him, he started winning all kinds of shit. So sometimes it can. I think maybe journalism wins this race, if I remember correct. I probably watched it a year ago, but.
Yeah.
This last year's Preakness, it only had 6 horses in it. That's such a small race. Whereas the Kentucky Derby had like this year, what, like 17 horses or something? Maybe they have less weight after removing the hung like a horse. Yeah, well, I don't think a horse's balls weigh that much. They have a horse named Journalism? Yes, they do. If I remember correctly, I think Journalism won this race, but I may be not remembering correctly. Journalism's in dead last, so if he's gonna win, then he's gonna have to make a real run for it here at the end. They're coming into the home stretch. Gosker, a 15-1 long shot, currently has the lead. Oh wow, there's gonna be an inquiry on that. The what do they call them? The people who do that? Wow. Oh, he got picked off at the end. Who won? Oh yeah, Journalism did come back and win it. Wow. That's impressive. He was way behind. That's super impressive. Look how far back he is here. So, where's number 2? 6. Okay, this is Journalism back here, see?
Oh.
That's Journalism. And there's all this traffic in front of him too. So he swings wide out to the outside. Way wider than anybody else is going. And then gets pushed out further by that Donnybrook of horses in the middle. And then he looks like he's dead. It's like there's no way he's gonna win. And he's in third and not looking especially strong. Oh no, that's him right there, the brown one. Okay, I was wrong. I thought it was the gray one.
I don't know what Journalism's moves were.
I thought it was the gray one.
I lost it.
Yeah. I was mistaken. Okay, so there's number 2. It's with a striped pink shirt.
Okay. So it's like in the middle right now.
Yeah. Okay, when he said he was 6, I miscounted. I thought that. And the difference is he took the inside track. He got the short route until he got cut off there. He is stuck. Wow, my God, he's getting sandwiched. He got sandwiched by those 2 horses. Didn't seem to faze him at all. Wow, he had a rough trip. Like that was about as much of a kerfuffle there, bumping of horses as you could imagine, and yet he just pushed right through and won the race. Well, good for him. Yes, you can bet on horses in California. You can bet on horses in California. Well, let's see what current games are on. We've got the Montreal Canadiens versus the Buffalo Sabres, but it's 6-3 Montreal. The series is tied 2-2, and it's late in the third period. Unless Buffalo gets 3 miracle goals, in the last 3 minutes and 28 seconds, I think it's fair to say that Montreal has got this game won. So good for the Canadians. I'm happy they get to win their sport. I don't know if they're going to win the whole Stanley Cup, but I'm confident they're going to win this game. I heard an interesting story on a YouTube channel the other day about a plane that crashed into the mountains of New England somewhere right around World War II time. It had been on patrol looking for enemy U-boats in the Atlantic, and weather came in hard, and there was a lot of fog, and it got lost. And anyway, long story short, it crashed directly into the side of a mountain with like 7 people on it, right? 7 aviators, military guys. And it was in the middle of winter. Snow was deep, night was cold. They crashed their plane straight in the side of the mountain, and their plane was filled with bombs. So after the initial plane crash and the big fire, a little while later, the bombs started exploding. And the townspeople, there was no, like, this is the 40s, it was rural area, there was no, like, first responder fetish like there is now. All the townspeople went up the hill to see if they could find any survivors, assuming they would find none, and try to, help if they could. And they were shocked to discover 6 of the 7 people had survived. They found first one group of 3 that were making their way down the hill very slowly, injured, but not super badly injured. And they helped them down the hill, and then, they said, well, I'm sure the rest of them are dead, especially with the bombs and everything going off. But let's look around anyway. And they look around some more, and they hear this feeble voice, help, help. And there's another 3 of them. These ones more severely injured. They couldn't get themselves down the hill at all, or with limited help. They needed to get them down on toboggans. So then they got some lumberjacks who lived in the town to come up and chop down some trees to make a path the toboggan could fit through all the way down into town, because the woods were too thickly, the trees were too thick for them to even get the toboggan through. So they chopped down all those trees to make this narrow path, all the trees they needed to make this narrow path, and then they finally got them down to the town. And to this day, that plane wreck still sits strewn all over the side of that mountain. And you can go take a hike to it today. It's 2.5 miles to it. And it's kind of like, off trail sort of. After you take a trail part of the way, there's a little bit of a road you walk down, and part of the way a dirt road. And then you go off trail up the side of this hill, and you can find the wreck and stuff. Dime Store Adventures, they're full of interesting tales. That guy is. You can't bet on sports. You can bet at Indian casinos and card clubs on various things, but not on sports. Wasn't there a mid-air collision in the LA area? Carson and the planes crashed into homes? I don't remember. Probably. A lot of air traffic over Los Angeles County, obviously. All right, well, I think I'm going to wrap it up, and maybe take a shower, And I don't know, maybe apply to some more jobs. Um, Maybe this, maybe that, maybe everywhere I'm fat. Anyway, I'll see you next time. I love you. Thank you for being here. Goodbye.